Stefania Bocconi that is giving the last presentation of this panel.
Very quick. Thank you very much. Thank you to the previous presenter for their very interesting input. I will be very much brief, and I will just give you an overview of this project that we've been running last year, that was about the digital competence of students, and which is connected to the Italian National Plan for Digital Education, which has been presented by Dr. Bottino, and which is also in line with some of the key recommendation and framework designed by the European Commission. So actually, the European Commission has developed recently 3 main frameworks outlining the digital competence for citizens. This framework is being used by schools in Italy as a reference framework for understanding what kind of digital competence students should develop to become valuable citizens. And recently, last year, the European Commission also developed a competence framework for teachers, outlining again what are the digital competence of educators, and finally a competence framework outlining the characteristics of a digital capable school educational organization. So as you can see, the European Commission is trying to tackle from a more holistic perspective the nature of the digital competence, defining both at individual level and organizational level. Concerning, in particular, very briefly, I would like to talk to you about the digital competence framework of educational organization. This framework particularly looks into educational organization at a systemic level. And the idea is that innovation through digital technologies can only be effective and an impact if they are considered through different perspectives, not only at infrastructure level, but also their inclusion in content and curricula, in the assessment practice, in the professional development, leadership and governance, collaboration and networking, and of course teaching and learning. Based on this competence framework, conceptual framework, the European Commission has also developed a self-reflection tool for the school to help them use and actually make a snapshot, a picture of what are their current uses of digital technologies across all this area, and use this information to plan for their improvement. So what is a selfie for the school by using this self-reflection tool? As I said, it's just a way to understand how digital technologies are included in their strategies, are included in their teaching and learning practices, in the curriculum. Is a way also to understand and collect the experiences from students. And mainly, this self-reflection tool is focusing on learning. So the main focus is not technology, as Professor Ying before was mentioning, but is the process of learning and teaching. And as I already mentioned, it's also a way to capture where school stands today and how they can plan to improve. This self-reflection tool, Selfie, is collecting perspective from the school leaders and its staff, teachers, and students. So the whole community is involved. And another characteristic is that this tool is customized by each school, because certain items, certain element might not be applied, and in other contexts, each school might have some specific elements that they would like to put into the full picture. At the end of this self-reflection process, each school receives a report which provides them with this snapshot of how they are using digital technologies across all this area, taking into consideration school leaders, teachers, and students' perspective. This self-reflection tool has been piloted in 14 countries last year across Europe, including also some UNESCO school in Russia. It has involved more than 600 schools and more than 67,000 users. I'm hungry. In Italy as well, it has been piloted in 10 regions. As you can see, more than 30,000 users have been involved, and it has been a very intensive and very interesting experience, which provided a lot of insights of how actually the perspective of the school community over strategies and practices sometimes are very in line, sometimes are not so aligned. These are just a very indication of all the description of the pilot are available, and as was mentioned before, there will be a panel session right after lunch, which will involve also an officer from the European Commission and other practitioner, where we will discuss more in detail about the results of selfie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. We were able to stay in the time period we have been allocated. I thank you everyone for being here, for participating to the panel. And now there is the lunch break upstairs, where we had the coffee break this morning. And so enjoy your lunch and the break. Thank you.